Welcome to Adult ypww Lesson 12. I do not own the rights to this music. Today's topic is holiness and endurance, standing firm to the end. The lesson text is coming out of Matthew chapter 24, verse 13. The memory verse. I will read the King James Version first, and then the New Living Translation of Matthew chapter 24, verse 13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. The New Living Translation of Matthew chapter 24, verse 13. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. The long road of holiness. Holiness is not just a momentary decision. It is a lifelong journey that requires consistency, conviction, and commitment. Many begin well, burning with zeal and passion, but the true test is not how we start, it is how we finish. The call to be ye holy applies in seasons of blessing and in seasons of hardship. In the quiet years as much as in the exciting ones, it is a call to remain holy through storms, temptations, weariness, and even opposition. Jesus made it clear in Matthew chapter 24, verse 13, But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Salvation is not just for those who make an initial commitment. It is for those who remain faithful all the way through. Endurance is more than stubbornness. It is the spiritual ability to keep standing when everything in you and around you says to sit down. It is holding on to God's ways when the pull of the world, the weakness of the flesh, and the attacks of the enemy all try to push you off course. For the believer, endurance is not produced by willpower alone. It is fueled by trusting God's faithfulness, relying on His strength, and obeying Him regardless of circumstances. This is why holiness and endurance are inseparable. Holiness keeps your heart pure and your conscience clear, so you can run without the drag of guilt or compromise. Endurance keeps you pressing forward in holiness, refusing to turn back even when the way gets hard. Without endurance, even the most sincere commitment can crumble under the weight of trials. And without holiness, endurance becomes mechanical and joyless. But when holiness and endurance work together, the believer becomes unshakable, steady in faith, secure in hope, and faithful in love until the very end. Why holiness fuels endurance. Holiness is not just about separation from sin. It is also about the strength to keep walking when the road is long and rough. Endurance is not possible without holiness because holiness secures your footing, clears your conscience, and sharpens your vision. A guilty conscience is like limping in the spirit. It slows your pace and makes every step painful. But when your heart is clean, you can run with confidence. The psalmist declared, It is God that girdeth me with strength, and maketh my way perfect. He maketh my feet like hinds' feet, and setteth me upon my high places. And that's Psalms chapter 18, verses 32 through 33. Just as a deer can leap on high cliffs without slipping, holiness equips you to stand firm when life feels slippery and unstable. James chapter 1 verse 8 warns that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Compromise creates instability, but holiness unites your heart toward God and keeps you steady under pressure. Holiness also removes the weight of sin. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 urges us to lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, so we can run with patience the race before us. Sin doesn't just separate, it suffocates. It clutters your spirit, slows your stride, and distracts your focus. Holiness strips away those burdens so you can run free, light, and strong. And it's not just sin that slows us down, but also weights. unhealthy attachments, draining relationships, or misplaced priorities. Holiness helps you discern not only what is wrong, but also what is unnecessary, so nothing hinders your endurance. Holiness also sharpens your spiritual vision. Endurance requires sight. The enemy knows if he can distort your perspective, he can derail your race. Compromise clouds the lens of your spirit, causing you to see giants instead of God, obstacles instead of opportunities, and problems instead of promises. But holiness clears your vision so you can recognize God's hand even in the hardest seasons. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2 points us to the key, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Holiness keeps your eyes fixed on Him, not the storm, not the enemy, not the pain. You can't endure if you can't see. Holiness gives you clarity to run straight, stay focused, and refuse to be distracted. How to endure in holiness. Enduring in holiness begins with a settled decision not to turn back. This is not an emotional reaction in a church service, but a deliberate, lifelong commitment to walk with God no matter the cost. Daniel purposed in his heart, that's in Daniel chapter 1, verse 8, that he would not defile himself, and that decision anchored him for decades in a hostile culture. Convictions outlast emotions. In the same way, believers today must make holiness non-negotiable, something to be held to even when it is lonely, costly, or misunderstood. Daily fellowship with God is also essential. Prayer, worship, and time in the Word are not optional extras. They are spiritual oxygen. Without them, holiness becomes a dry rule book, but with them, holiness becomes a living relationship. Jesus modeled this when he rose early to pray. In Mark 1, verse 35, every time you step into His presence, your perspective is recalibrated. Trials lose their grip because your spirit is anchored in Him. Daily fellowship not only sustains you, it realigns you so your heart stays steady in the race. Endurance further requires walking in the power of the Holy Ghost. Holiness is not about sheer willpower, it is about spirit power. Galatians chapter 5 verse 16 declares, "Walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh." Before Pentecost, Peter denied Jesus out of fear, but after being filled with the Spirit, he stood boldly and preached to thousands. The difference was not his personality, it was the Spirit's power working through him. Walking in the Spirit doesn't just help you resist sin, it strengthens you to endure hardship with joy. The Spirit is not only your restrainer, He is your sustainer. Finally, endurance is strengthened by godly community. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 10 reminds us, two are better than one, for if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. Isolation makes you vulnerable, but community gives you support. Holiness thrives in fellowship, accountability, and encouragement. Surround yourself with believers who will pray with you when you are weary, speak truth when you are tempted to compromise, and remind you of God's promises when you feel like quitting. In Acts chapter 4, the church endured persecution with boldness because they prayed together and stood together. Community doesn't just keep you accountable, it multiplies your endurance. When you combine a firm decision, daily fellowship with God, spirit-filled strength, and Christ-centered community, you have everything needed to endure in holiness until you cross the finish line. The conclusion: finish well. The crown is not given to the one who starts, but to the one who finishes. Paul declared in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 through 8, "I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith." His endurance was fueled by a life fully surrendered to God. In every trial, the enemy's goal is not just to make you suffer, but to make you quit. But if you keep your eyes on Jesus, draw strength from His Spirit, and refuse to compromise, you will not only survive, you will overcome. Holiness will hold you steady when the winds blow. Keep your heart pure when bitterness knocks, and keep your faith strong when the wait is long. Those who endure to the end will hear Him say, "Well done." The questions for today's lesson. Number 1, how has holiness helped you stand firm in a difficult season? Number 2, what weights or distractions could be slowing you down in your race? Number 3, how can daily fellowship with God strengthen your endurance? Number 4, who can you connect with for mutual encouragement in holy living? And number 5, how can holy relationships serve as a witness to unbelievers around you? The end. God bless you and thank you for joining me today.